We're recording.
We're recording.
Ready to go?
I'm good.
Welcome to the Digital Pathfinders podcast, where we guide professionals through career transitions, content creation, and building new income streams online. I'm your co-host, Antonio, joined by my fellow co-host, Danny. How you doing, buddy?
Bro, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm super excited to be back. It's been a few months. I know that you've been working on some projects. I've been working on some things over here. Life gets busy, man, but I'm super glad to be in front of the camera, hanging out with you.
Absolutely. It's been so long. It's been probably months at this point. It's actually been over a year since we first met in that very
Right?
first Nas
June.
IO challenge.
June.
So
Yeah,
it's
June.
almost August. This year is flying by, but it's always nice to reconnect. I'm hoping
Yeah.
to pull out a couple of hot takes in today's session.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's on your radar? What's on your
You
mind?
know, um, so like there for a while, I took the foot off the gas. I think that first, I have a 4-month-old boy. I think that
Congratulations.
thank you. I've been focused on that a lot. Growing family, but also like I have clients that I do content for. I go to school full time. I do a bunch of little side gigs. So life got busy. Life got busy in the last I'd say month. I've really gotten a plan together about what I want to do in order to make sure that I keep growing a career digitally. And so I recently launched a couple of new projects, and I'm sure that we'll talk about that. What have you been up to, bro?
Artificial intelligence, I would say, has been a key focus of mine. And at Nas Company, Nusair has said, we're going all in, and we're actually undergoing a 100-day AI video challenge on the Nas Daily side of the house. Today, I believe, is day 40. So we've got 60 more days. It's 100 days of videos, kind of going back to the Nas Daily roots of the 1,000-day journey, a bit more smaller scale, of course, but he really likes the fact that despite it being all AI, the pressure of having to put out a daily video has been pretty amazing, to be honest, to really get back to our roots. We had a couple of massively viral videos. One the other day hit like 5 million in a couple of hours. The biggest one is over 13 million. And it's pretty remarkable what you can do with AI today. When we first met a year ago, a little over a year ago,
Yeah,
AI wasn't where it is today, and it's still nowhere where it's going to be tomorrow. But I think
right.
the whole dynamic has really changed. So I would say AI is a focus, not just video AI, of course. I manage the Hello at Nas Daily inbox. And before, when I first joined, there was another woman managing it, and she was using templates directly inside Gmail where you can kind of go in there, find the appropriate template, hit send. But I always felt like it was very impersonal, right? So
1990s.
yeah, so what I would do is I would use ChatGPT, but it just got so voluminous, the amount of emails that were just difficult. So I ended up creating a custom GPT that personalizes it, and I hit enter, and it pretty much comes spot on what I need to send out. And so that's really helped me out, just learning, the GPTs. And of course, now we've got this agentic concept in AI, and I actually haven't even used the new function within ChatGPT for the
That's what I was
agentic
gonna
mode.
say. That's what I was gonna say. I started messing with it a little bit, and it. We started about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, hanging out, talking. I think the third challenge that we did was an AI challenge, right? So
Mm,
on the third month that we knew each other, and it was super different, right? It's been less than a year, and a lot of the video now you can do sound. It's putting less like third arms and weird faces in the back of the head, because before you didn't know what you were going to get. And right now, I think that with VO3, uh, the leap that made is huge. I've been playing with Suno,
mhm.
and the music quality that it's pumping out is just great. And then ChatGPT, they just launched this new feature that you can connect everything, right? That you can connect
Oh, the
everything.
connectors.
So like your email, your calendar, you can book tickets for a flight directly on it. I haven't messed with it too much. I know that there's some limitations. Like I have several different Gmail accounts, personal, work, and then a couple of different projects. So I don't know exactly how that could tie it all in together. But when we talked about you building your agent, your AI agent, I thought, man, somebody's going to do this and it's going to be super streamlined. In the amount of time that we've spent playing with AI, right? What has it been? 2 years? Two and a
It'll
half
be
years
three
it's been?
years in November when
In November,
ChatGPT
right?
first launched by OpenAI.
Leaps and bounds. And that's one of the things that is intimidating is that, I learned Hedra and I was getting pretty proficient at Hedra in the first few weeks. And then VO3 launched, right? And then I have to sit down, figure out prompts. And tomorrow's going to be something else that we have to learn. So,
Yeah, but the good thing here is that we're getting our hands wet, we're getting experience, and I think that notion of AI is going to take jobs away, but I do think in many ways it's going to create new jobs. I do think the jobs that are going to be taken away are jobs that are very simple in nature, very repetitive, even if they're very analytical in theory, or for a doctor, for example, a general practitioner, right? You basically kind of tell them your vitals. They read your blood pressure, things of that nature, and you talk to them. Like even that kind of interaction could be really enhanced with AI in
yeah,
essence, right? You basically can chat with AI and give them all of your symptoms, how you're feeling, this and that. And if you were to give them your actual diagnostics, your actual blood pressure, sugar levels, things of that nature, it could probably come back with a pretty succinct response. Now, of course, that's dangerous because it's not a trained medical professional. But the
right.
point is there, right? That even a job of being a medical practitioner, that job is at risk.
Well, look, you just said it. Nas had somebody else dealing with emails, probably taking 3 or 4, 5, 10 times more time than you are right now doing with ChatGPT. So it's not like that got eliminated, but that got condensed, right? And
Right.
listen, there's a few things that aren't going to go away. Carpenters, plumbers, right? And we were talking about the guy that was setting up your studio, right? He's out there hustling, and I'm sure word of mouth is how he's getting jobs. I recently met with a new lawyer, Vanya. Shout out to Vanya out there in Mexico.
Mhm.
Just graduated this year, and I was talking to her about, look, there is LinkedIn that we need to get on for you. You're going to start getting business. We need to get on one of these platforms like Nas.io, where you can start building a community so you can teach people that are just graduating or about to graduate. She's also a university professor that teaches law. And I go, look, you have a captive audience. Let's go ahead and integrate them into these communities. And, and as I talk to her, I feel like she feels like these are huge, massive projects that are going to take months and months to do. And I'm like, listen, we can get on Nas.io right now, and the AI co-founder will do all the heavy lifting for you, and all you have to do is put a couple of pieces of information in there and then format whatever it spits out. I think that
Yeah.
there's going to be people out there like Vanya that are professionals that are going to figure out how to maximize their income and the amount of work that they're putting out. And I
Well, it's
think that
really
as
about
this happens,
selling their knowledge as opposed to selling their time. I've been telling my
right?
girlfriend, who's a makeup artist, I'm like, you basically could create a mini course on how to do XYZ techniques. She does makeup and hair. She's got this little mannequin, like a head, basically. It's on a tripod. She does like the different hairstyles and stuff like that. And I was like, look,
Yeah.
if you were to think back to when you first started makeup, how much would you have paid for a course that gave you like a crash course on how to do hair, how to do makeup, etc.? Like, how much would you pay for that? And I was telling her, like, you could charge probably like 100,000 pesos, which is only like 25 US dollars. But if you were to sell that to say 100 people or 1,000 people, right? Because back then there really was nothing out there. And even though there are courses today, it's a quick and easy way to share your knowledge with the world. And I was just thinking as you were speaking as well about your friend Vania, like this guy Cesar, my carpenter who helped me out with my studio here. Like I was looking at his tools, I was like watching him work a little bit, and I could see what he was doing. Like not one step was overly complicated, but he had a whole repertoire of tools in his literal tool belt, pulling out the drill, pulling out the different tools that he had to do each job well, right? And so even a guy like that, he could literally do a course on Nas.io, how to be a carpenter, charge 50,000 pesos, whatever it is, 5,000 pesos, doesn't even matter, as just a way to make additional income. You record it once, it's a one-time effort, and the upside's very massive.
Yeah, yeah. I started another platform, another community on Nas.io, Generación Digital, and then
Mm-hmm.
we have the digital Pathfinders, and so I've been playing with that and trying to get some content up there. But I think that the small little things like a 5 day challenge on how to produce, a jingle for your podcast, or how about how to get a love song for somebody that you're pursuing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody will pay $5 to sit through a challenge, a 3 day, 5 day challenge, where you have like a kickoff party, and then you have you meet halfway through, and then you have final. I mean, you won like what, $1,000 doing challenges and got a job. Like I think that the upside
Yeah, that
to it
worked out
is,
quite well.
yeah,
That worked
it's
out quite well.
massive, massive,
Yeah,
massive.
and I think that's what it comes down to is that, the world is divided by borders and countries and languages. But if you really think about it, the world is very stratified into individual interests, right? And those interests cut across geographies, cut across genders, cut across language, right? It's like your tribe, in essence, is very, very finite as far as interests are concerned. And it's not just the topic, it's like the personality, it's the vibe somebody gives off. And so that's why online you can find these communities of like-minded individuals, even though you may look nothing alike.
Right.
It's the ability to, connect with people who have similar interests and can vibe in that sense. And so when it comes to monetization, you don't need a million people. You just need like, 1,000 devout followers who like what you do. And you're literally only a chapter or two ahead sharing your knowledge, and people are drawn to that. And what
Yeah.
I've learned in my role is, you can really learn so much information from somebody else by just getting into conversation, right?
Right.
I was on a call yesterday, a discovery call yesterday, about this young entrepreneur. I don't want to give too much away here, but he basically created an AI app at only 17 years old. He was featured in a predominant business magazine, making millions of dollars, selling
Wow.
a monthly subscription, right, of an AI app. And in fact, I heard recently, I didn't read the article, I just saw the headline talking about the CEO of NVIDIA. He said that we're on the cusp of seeing a whole generation of young people become millionaires within the next few months, next couple of years, as they're able to translate these ideas and create these AI apps and other platforms, et cetera, that you can do so simply. Now, this whole notion of vibe coding, for
Yeah.
example, where you literally don't have to be technical, you don't have to be a software engineer, and there are so many tools out there that you can literally
Real quick,
just interact with it. Yeah.
did he talk anything about people in middle age that are going to become millionaires in the
Well, I
next
think the
few
notion is
months?
that, a lot of people have the fear of jumping into AI, right? It's like, oh my
Right.
gosh, a person who's middle aged in the corporate sector, they're fearing their jobs are going to be cut, and it's a rightful fear to have. In fact, I think Microsoft recently announced like 9,000 layoffs, right? And so I think the point here is that the new generation, they look at the corporate model as like prehistoric, right? Like,
Right.
oh my gosh, you used to go to the office and work for a company or a set of companies for 40 years and then retire, where it's like now people really value their time, people really value working on their own terms. So I think that's where the message was at. It wasn't
I
just about, only young kids can do this, by no means.
I had a conversation. I had a conversation with this gentleman. Right. Worked asphalt. He did roads. He did parking lots, and he said, "Look, these kids today just don't have a work ethic. Just don't know what it means to put in your time, work your way up in a job." And I thought about Mika, one of my video editors. Actually, she's almost like a virtual assistant right now. She's doing great. She's doing a bunch of stuff. She's been growing. And I go, look, she has gigs that she does. She works. Sometimes I see her working at 10 at night. Sometimes I see her working at 7 in the morning. She puts it all together. I see her. She recently went to Comic Con in El DF, Mexico
Mm-hmm.
City, all on Red Bull's dime, right? And I'm like, look, like
How,
that
how
is
did she
work.
land that opportunity?
So she had a coworker that Red Bull, or a friend that Red Bull reached out to him,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then they asked about different people. He shared her content, which actually she's gotten a couple of like million view videos, 100,000 videos here and there. So she went out there and she had this trip, and got a little bit of money from Red Bull. And I go, that is actual work. What they don't value is going to a job that they are dispensable, going to a job where they clock in, they clock out, they get a paycheck, and beyond that, there's no satisfaction, there's no flexibility. I go, look, what if you could work, 10, 15 hours a week, make what you're making, make your own schedule, work when you want. I go, would that be being lazy if you're still providing for yourself and your family? Right? I go, these kids, and I call them kids, they're adults. I go, these young adults have figured something out that I wish I would have figured out when I was 16, 22, 25.
Well, that's what it
Right?
comes down to is that, kids grow up today in a totally, I think even the word digital is almost like an outdated term, right? They just grow up in this age of all things online, being connected 24/7. So whether it's YouTube or TikTok or whatever social media platform they like to use, they're learning skills and they're having these conversations with people they don't even know, and they're learning how to monetize at a very, very young age. And so there really is no other model that makes sense to them, right?
No.
So, for example, in the case of Colombia, if you are super applied, say you come from a lower income background and you're able to get a scholarship to go to the public university here, which is very competitive. It's like
Right.
1% practically acceptance rate.
Right.
You go to school for 4 years, you get a degree, you start working, you go back and get your master's degree. At best, you're going to make like 10 million pesos a month, which is like $2,500 a month. And that's a great salary here. But
That
that
is a
comes after
great
years of
salary there.
experience where I think kids nowadays, they're like, I want to make 10 million pesos on like one video, right?
Right.
Or a brand deal. And they're making it happen. They're obviously few and far between cases in general. But my whole notion is that people look at working for somebody else as a very antiquated way, whereas now you can have multiple income streams, right? And I think that's what we're really seeing now.
And I think you hit it right on the button. There's two things that I've seen here recently. My I know somebody out there in Colombia put himself with the help of his family through school, got his accounting degree, and couldn't find meaningful work. Right? Couldn't
Hmm.
find work that would pay him more than $500 a month with a professional degree, and he had to leave the country in order to work at a laundromat, yeah, in order to be able to make a living, right? And another accountant, right, that I know, my comadre's grandfather, he
Hmm.
worked decades for a company that eventually let him go. And
Hmm.
he found himself pre-retirement age not being able to land a job that could pay him enough to continue living the way he was living, right?
Well, I think
I
that's
think.
really a very, very valid fear that many people in our age bracket and above are really going to come across, in the sense that it's not even about replacing your existing income. It's about replacing any kind of job that's going to be full time, even if you take a step down the corporate ladder, so to speak. When you're like 55 years old, making 150, $200,000 plus, you get axed. Like, no company's really going to hire you unless you've got a very, very specific knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So we hear these stories of these AI researchers and getting just crazy money thrown at them, $100 million, $200 million salaries for working in AI. But those are like AI brainiacs. These are people that are actually really, really deep in this. Is not end user AI
Well,
application. My whole point though is that it is a valid fear, right? You should be learning other tools so that you can have multiple income streams. And I think that's really the key focus that all of us should have, myself included, yourself included. Like,
well,
you
look
cannot
at
just rely on salary alone.
yeah, look what happened to us. We have a very, very similar story, right? College, um, uh, graduate degrees. You worked for Pfizer, right? I worked for a national janitorial company as a regional director of operations. I think that was my title. And you know, you got laid off. I got laid off. And what do, right? We try to figure it out. You've had success with user generated content. I think I've had some success doing digital marketing for people, and everything that we have. What maybe we're experts, maybe we're cutting edge, right? And the knowledge that we have is what, 3 or 4 years for you, a year and a half for
Yeah,
you.
no, I mean, it's been an intense thing, though. And I think that I was lackadaisical, right? Was making a good income, those golden handcuffs, if you will, that you get
Yeah.
home. The last thing you want to do is crack open a book or start studying or learning in other ways. And so I would say my hand was forced in many ways, but it worked
Hmm.
out. I went on a sabbatical. I went deep into the content creation space by training with the Nas Academy's Creator Accelerator program. That really, I think, changed my whole perspective. And then when those challenges came around, right, and that led me to UGC. I started doing these challenges, and I'm still doing UGC. In fact, I continue to do these because they're quick and easy, which is why I like having the studio here built, like literally live and work in the studio. You get a request to do a UGC video. I'm predominantly doing either podcast focused, trading, crypto type of explainer type of videos, or maybe I'll
Hmm.
do a car video. But anything beyond that, I just don't do. It's just too much time and effort. But if I can literally be working, take an hour out, edit the video, send it off, it's like super easy money. That being said, I think I want to talk about LinkedIn a little bit though, because LinkedIn, I do believe, and I'm seeing it now, where I think I had like a head start in the content creation space as far as like the third generation of people. There was like the first generation of people, the Gary V's, the Casey Neistat, and even New Sire. I think he was maybe a step back from those guys,
Maybe
but
a
they were
second. Yeah.
pioneers in the content creation space, right? So when New Sire launched the Creator Accelerator program, I was doing content way before a lot of my friends and acquaintances were. And now I see them doing it. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. So I think the same thing with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place to be when it comes to being able to interface and network with founders, business owners, and things of that nature. And so I've been very consistent the past few weeks, and I can say it's really really promising. I've got a virtual assistant now who's helping me do outreach and all kinds of support there. And so I think for yourself as well, Danny, I think LinkedIn is a great place to really find opportunities to generate income.
Yeah, I think it's a good place for anybody to be at, and I haven't leveraged it enough. I haven't leveraged it enough, and I feel that there's a lot of people out there that feel overwhelmed because of it, and
Mm.
I do too. I do too, right? I've been doing content for about a year, a little bit more than a year, like serious business-oriented content, and I
Mhm.
can't find my consistency. I think I go on stretches where I do really well, right? But you know what I want? I want to be able to live a global life where I don't have to come back to home base in order to support that type of lifestyle. I want my kids to be international citizens. I want to be able to hang out at home, finish my work in a reasonable amount of time, and then go enjoy the beach, right? And I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah, well,
consistency
now
is all
we're in
about.
that day and age where you can make that happen, right? Whether
Yeah.
it's through freelancing, whether it's doing a side hustle on Fiverr or other. Now is the time to do it, to build the skills where all you need is your phone or a laptop, and you can get to work literally directly
Now,
from the beach.
and now that you touch base on Fiverr, let's talk about that for a little bit, right?
Sure.
Because there is a platform out there for anybody to do any type of job, and you're going to have an audience that's going to come out and pay for that, right? So I have the studio here, right? We have like the fancy microphones and the lights in it, but I have the soundproofing. You have a studio over there, right? I have been on Fiverr. You've been after me to do, gigs on Fiverr, and I just been super big. Anyways, so I got on Fiverr maybe 3 days ago, and I've already had three inbounds. Right?
Really?
Yeah. And
For your
we did
voiceover
a
gig or which gig?
so voiceover, right? We did you helped me get a job, a gig for University of the People through Nas.io that I did a voiceover for. Shout out to University of the People. I got plenty. I got a degree from you guys, man. I love you. And then and then we did another one for Phoenix Health. That was all AI. I don't think they used it. They didn't like the tone of it, so I put them up there, right? And within, I hadn't even finished the details. I had my first inbound, right? And
There you
it's
go.
not,
There you go.
yeah,
And the
it's
thing
not,
is, we're in the AI age where you see these tools and apps like 11 Labs, but people still want to interface and interact with humans. That's
yeah,
that's really at the end of the day what this is all about.
yeah. Anybody out there that you have anything, if you have an idea, there's somebody out there looking to pay you to do it, right? It doesn't have to be voiceover with the studio or UGC in the home office there's people out there that do accounting, bookkeeping. There's people out there that I saw lawyers on Fiverr, right? I bet you that whatever skills that you have, you are going to be able to put them on Fiverr
Well, as you grow through your Fiverr career, there are levels. So you start out as
yeah,
a new seller, and then you work your way up to becoming a level one seller. There's some metrics and thresholds you have to hit. And then you become a level two, which is what I'm at, and then you become a top rated seller. I was evaluated, got denied, probably because I haven't been that active, to be perfectly
yeah,
honest, and I haven't really branched out beyond UGC. I do have teach you how to create a podcast gig that hasn't been too big. I've got another one on doing like research using AI that kind of makes sense if people aren't really super interested in that. I have another one for like doing long form video. But one of the benefits of being on Fiverr is that you'll actually get briefs sent your way, literally by the platform itself. So I've come across some that are looking for editors for podcast videos, doing presentations, so like strategic presentations. There's a wide swath of opportunity out there that you really get exposed to just by being on the platform. And you can
right.
also browse and see what other people are doing. For example, people using Sales Navigator to create lead lists, right? That's like a very, I would say, ungracious kind of job where it's very much behind the scenes. You can do it by yourself. But at the end of the day, you're using a tool online that you can create a list of interest to somebody and they're willing to pay you for that effort. Now, unfortunately, some gigs more than others tend to pay a little bit low. I think that lead generation list is actually a very low paying gig. But the point being
Well,
is that as you build your skills and as you grow through the rankings, you can actually have more jobs under your title.
and sometimes I don't have time to do certain things, and I'll go in there and I'll look. I had somebody do 50 Canva style ads, just
Mhm.
straight out of Canva with templates. He finished them in 3 days, right? And just I didn't want to do it because it's going to take me a heck of a lot longer than it's going to take him. I
Mhm.
don't use a video editor because I am not interested in sitting behind a computer for 2 or 3 hours at a time to get a couple of minutes, maybe 5, 10 minutes, right? It's just not my cup of tea. And there's people out there that are willing to do that and make a living from it. Make a living from it. I encourage anybody out there to get on Fiverr and start making money, man. You moving from 9 to 5 corporate into a digital space doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to find an immediate replacement of your income, but what you're going to
Correct.
find is you're going to find how to piecemeal together a better lifestyle, right? I got,
Well, I think it's about learning as well, right? So if you're driving Uber, for example, as a replacement income stream, when you're not riding with the passenger, you can literally have a podcast on. You can have an audio book on to continually learn. And listening to YouTube, for example, is another way just to like infuse your brain with knowledge. And then also online communities. I think online courses are another great way. I recently signed up for Coursera. I had reconnected
oh
with an
yeah,
old MBA colleague as a way because she works at Coursera, and so
oh
we were
wow,
speaking. And actually, the founder, I forget his name. He's really big into the AI space, but she recommended like, hey, why don't you sign up for Coursera? So I took an AI course. The professor was from Vanderbilt, and I took an introduction to agentic AI, right? And I was looking at building my own AI agent to do the email management of inbounds, right? The whole goal was to be able to you can connect with Python and the local interface on your laptop to say Gmail. And it was like it would take the inbound emails, it would read them, it would parse them, and would come up with some drafts. And the goal was to have them ready to go in the outbound, the draft folder. But I just found that I just wasn't deeply technical enough. And there are more web-based agents, the agent builders that can help you build that.
I think
I
GPT,
never would
Chat
have I never would have
GPT.
tried that if I just didn't get exposed to it, right?
Yeah.
And so my whole point is like, look, when I was laid off 3 years ago, I had no idea. I could never have envisioned that I would be doing what I'm doing today. I think that's the key message here is that look, it's never too late to shift gears. I posted a recent post on LinkedIn, a clip of Robert De Niro in his role where he played the intern, 70-year-old intern.
Yeah.
He
That
joins
was a
an
good movie.
e-commerce
That was a good movie.
fashion startup to support the CEO, right? And I could that message really resonated with me. Now, of course, it's Hollywood, but I think the deeper lesson there is that you ultimately can shift gears at any age. And now, of course, there still is ageism in the workplace, where like a lot of people getting laid off at 50 plus, 55 plus, 60. Like it's you're not going to get another job necessarily that easily. I'm not saying you won't, but you've built up a whole career's worth of knowledge. It's really about trying to find a way to apply that knowledge to other people's problems. And if you can do that, you can solve their problems. They're willing to pay you. It's just a whole mind shift that you have to get your mind around and understand. Like, look, I'm no longer going to get paid by company A and get a weekly, monthly, whatever it is salary. No, I need to interface with multiple clients and solve their problems. And each client is going to be very different from my day-to-day job that I was doing, like much
Yeah.
more pigeonholed in many ways.
Yeah, and that's what I mean about piecemealing your income together, right? You mentioned Uber. Shout out to Uber. I love that company. I drive for them. Actually, I qualified for the Uber Arizona State University partnership, and I got the opportunity to go back full time to school. They're shelling out like $35,000 a year for me to go back to school. So Uber, thank you. But you mentioned Gary Vee too. He goes, "Hey, don't be afraid to take a step back in income if you're not happy, or if you get laid off for that matter." Right? I was early 40s and found myself without a job. Right? Right now, I have maybe 5 different income streams that are mostly digital related,
Mhm.
and I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. The bills are getting paid, and I have a little bit left over for going out, eating out, just living life, and I get to prepare my daughter's lunch before she goes to school and drop her off. I get to come home for lunches. I get to do all kinds of school activities, and just it is a whole nother mindset. But it's being you, me. I'm the business, right? And
Yes.
just
Well, and I
like
think
any
that's
other
the great thing
business,
about it as well is when you are a freelancer, when you are independent, when you're a hustler, if you will, one of the best things you can do is really network with as many people as you can. And I know as an Uber driver, you do a lot of that in
yeah, yeah, yeah.
person, but you can also do it online. I participate in online courses. For example, Beehive, the company that offers their email newsletter solution, they had a recent webinar, and I was pretty amazed. They had an all-star lineup. Cody Sanchez was probably the headliner as far as the most well-known woman, but I was able to, learn a lot in that particular webinar, and I actually ended up approaching one of the guest speakers in that webinar to become a content creator for Nas. And so that's just another great way to constantly learn, and it was just a free webinar. They basically had these experts who say that having an email newsletter is a primary tool. Actually, one of the goals I have for myself is to create a newsletter because you can get canceled on a platform, right? And you lose all of your content, you lose all of your followers, and that's a huge loss. Whereas if you have your own email list of contacts that you can reach out to, it's a great way to make money. So that's one of the plans I have for later this year is to launch my own email newsletter as well, just to kind of really share and showcase what I'm up to, what I'm doing. They can help others learn, etc. There's just so many tools out there, but the only way you can do it is, I think, when your feet are held to the fire. When you're working a 9 to 5 and you have a steady salary, your feet are not held to the fire. You have that
Right.
that safety of income that relaxes you. But when you're
Right.
working independently, you got this gig and that gig, you're constantly in motion. I think that's the big difference.
Yeah. And you mentioned owning your email list, and that's another reason that I'm back on Nas.io starting communities because if let's say you have a huge community on TikTok and TikTok goes away, so does your community. And I think that
Hmm.
owning your community is something that anybody that's going to be out there digitally working for themselves needs to start doing. The digital pathfinders, I think it's great. We're aiming at an older demographic, 35 to 55, that really want to transition from 9 to 5 into a more digital space, or maybe are forced to do that, right? And I'm looking at Generación Digital to really aim at a younger demographic
Hmm.
that is people like your girlfriend, right?
Hmm.
That she just is doesn't know that she can actually take her skills, put
Yes,
them
yes,
online with a few little
yes.
tools, and start
Yeah,
building
she
her
doesn't
own
recognize
thing.
she has
Yeah,
sufficient knowledge to make money now, right?
yeah,
She's dedicated herself to
yeah,
learn the art of doing makeup, and she's busy. When she's actually doing makeup, like she'll work weekends and,
yeah,
and evenings, like it's a lot of work. And when you're doing one customer, she doesn't really have time to do content. I mean, she puts up a tripod. Not every customer wants to be filmed, etc. But her hands and feet are like tied up, just basically being on her feet, doing all the makeup, the products, etc. Whereas working digitally, it gives you so much more freedom, right? It's
yeah.
again selling your time versus selling your knowledge versus selling your time.
And I bet you, if she has, I have one of these little suction cups for the car. I
Hmm.
sometimes put it on the mirror when I'm shaving or whatever when I'm talking. I bet you, if she had that, put it on the mirror, started filming herself, she could do a 3-day challenge on how to do the perfect eyebrows. And I
Yep.
bet you there are a million people out there that are going to be willing to pay $1
Oh,
for
100%. And
how to
she
figure
actually
out. Yeah.
she did the makeup of this very well-to-do 15-year-old. She had her quinceañera, and it was like a wedding. She literally had like five different hairdos during her party. So they did, what do they call it? There's a term for it in Spanish, where they basically do like the practice makeup, right?
Yeah.
And then so just to kind of see her different looks, etc. And she went to the event. They had like musical performances. She danced, this and that. It's my gal who's still very shy. She doesn't like to speak on camera. She did a voiceover though of this night of just doing this gal's makeup. She showed all the different looks, and the video went viral on TikTok. So she could basically
Wow.
do a similar kind of video. And Gary Vee talks about this. Do organic content up the yin yang into every single day, and whatever over indexes, run a paid ad on that. Focus in on a very very close radius of where you live, and it's like guaranteed success to sell. And you have all these opportunities. Like you can sell on TikTok, you can sell on whatnot, you can sell on Nas.io, but you have to create content. You have to let people know that you exist, what you're selling, what the price point is, etc. And so I just think a lot of people haven't really made that shift. I think, unfortunately, entrepreneurship and working for yourself, it's not really a part of the core curriculum. You know what I mean? I
Right.
think, at least in the
Right.
States.
Yeah. And I go back to I'm the brand. I'm the brand. I have to invest in me, right? Because if a store owner, right, if he doesn't sell, he doesn't eat. He doesn't eat. And what does he do? He puts signs out there that are real flashy. Out there in Colombia, they got the speaker box out there. They got the music blaring. They're catching people's attention. Or you're on the radio, you're on TV, whatever it might be, in order to draw people in. And as
Hmm.
a personal brand, as an entrepreneur, as me being my own business, well, I can't afford to be on the corner with a fancy sign or pay thousands of dollars for radio or TV. But social media is free. Social media is free, and there are billions and billions of people out there looking at it every single day. Why wouldn't you be out there, selling your skills as a bookkeeper? right? You can be a bookkeeper anywhere in the world, right? I have shout out to Edgar, my buddy, out there in Ensenada, doing bookkeeping and for the United States clients, living the life. Built his house and hello, where'd you go, Antonio? Well, I guess I'm here. Shout out to Edgar, man, making a living, doing it digitally, and I don't even think he realized that that's what he was doing. I don't even think he realized that's what he was doing. All right, let me see where this guy is at. Antonio dropped off the call, but where are you? Ah. Oh, his internet dropped off. All right. Let me tell you about a couple of things that I've been doing that have been working out pretty well. First, like I said earlier when I was talking to Antonio, I've been doing Fiverr. I've been on it less than a week, and I've had 3 inbounds, right? I've always been told that I have a voice that people like, that I could do voiceovers on. So I had already done some videos, and I thought, hey, why not? Let's go ahead and put them up. And it ended up working out pretty well. Like I said, less than a week, and I have 3 inbounds already. So I really like that. Oh, look, Antonio's there again. Let's see.
So where are we at?
I was talking about my buddy Edgar. He went to the Air Force. He got the GI Bill, went through business school, figured out that he wanted to do bookkeeping. He was out in San Diego really struggling. Really struggling. The cost of living in California is really, really expensive. He ended up buying himself close to Ensenada, which is about, 2 hours away from the border, in this place called El Valle de Guadalupe, which is like vineyards, just beautiful. Bought himself a lot of...
Is that north of LA?
No, this is in Mexico.
Oh, Ensenada. Is that 2 hours from the border?
2 hours from the border south, right?
Oh,
he bought himself a piece of land out there. He built himself a nice house. He's going to Airbnb it when he starts.
He's from the States?
So, yeah, he's from the United States, but he grew up in Mexico. He grew up in TJ. And
Okay.
so, and he's out there, beautiful house, beautiful location, and he's doing bookkeeping for people in the United States because that's what he does, and he does it online.
See, that's the way to do it, man. Like, is to literally that's the ultimate life hack, is to work outside of the United States, or at least live in a place that's just cheaper where your income is, right? So Colombia, this year marks 10 years for me in Colombia, and even though I get frustrated at living in Barranquilla,
when the internet
for
goes
example,
out,
like. Well, the internet going out, I moved to a new place, and of all the challenges I had in my other place, internet was not one of them, whereas here, everything's better except for my internet. But trying to cancel my internet at the other place, it's been mission impossible. I've called multiple times, WhatsApp, gone in person. There's just, it's like bureaucratic red tape put in place on purpose so you cannot get out of it. It's criminal, to be honest. My whole point, though, is...
That's not a Colombian
My
thing,
whole point,
bro.
though, is that those are the challenges you have to live with of living in a country where it is cheaper, but the income arbitrage of making money in U.S. dollars, spending in pesos, it's life altering in many ways and very enriching. The quality of life I have here, I mean, besides living with my girlfriend who's a great cook, but I've got a maid that comes by twice a week, so she does all the cooking and cleaning, keeps us in order, and it's like pennies on the dollar. Like, you couldn't even have that in the U.S.
Right.
So I can really understand what your buddy's doing. And I was in Mexico in April. I really miss Mexico because Mexico, in many ways, is much more sophisticated than Colombia. It's a more advanced society. It's a larger country by population, by GDP, per capita GDP. Just level so many ways. It's very, very, very sophisticated. Probably one of the most sophisticated in all of Latin America besides Brazil, but leaps and bounds above Colombia. So I could see a guy, especially the norteño part of Mexico. I've never been to Baja California, but Baja California, I would imagine it is very, very modern compared to, say, southern Mexico, right? For example,
that is something that I would consider, right? TJ is literally excuse me, it's literally across the border from the third largest city in California, right? Beautiful San Diego. There's plenty of job, plenty of opportunity. The cost of living is probably 25% out there, and the quality of life is not too much differently than you would find it across the
So your
border.
buddy, you said he's doing
Yeah.
bookkeeping. Is he taking a step back in income compared to what he used to do, but the offset of having a lower expense
No,
allows him to
he's not
live
taking
a
a
comfortable
step back at
lifestyle?
all. If he was doing bookkeeping here in the United States, living in San Diego, he would be making the same exact amount. And that's one thing that I wanted to touch base on, right? Like, I make around six figures, right? And I am not living what I thought was a six-figure life, right?
Mm.
Here,
Well, you live in
you
California
know,
though
and
too.
I live. It's paradise here. I got the beach. I got the forest, lakes, the whole thing. I'm not complaining about where I'm at here, but
Great weather.
awesome weather. 70 degrees 9 months out of the year.
I mean that cannot be understated. Let me tell you, living in
Yeah, yeah.
Barranquilla. But go ahead.
No, but here's the thing. I bought my house 12 years ago. I locked in a great rate. I locked in a great price, right? But it is just so expensive to live here. If I was living
Hmm.
in Mexico or if I was living in Colombia, making the type of money that I make right now, like I would have the
Yeah,
penthouse
hundred thousand
apartment.
dollars anywhere south of the border is an immediate and massive lifestyle upgrade, particularly if you're responsible. I mean, you can make $100,000 and live in like in a penthouse and live a fabulous lifestyle and burn through it
Yeah,
pretty quickly. But being a family man like you are, having not eating out every single meal, spending, throwing these crazy parties,
yeah,
things of that nature. I
yeah,
mean, you would do very,
yeah,
very well and live
yeah.
incredibly well, right? Like you could have like a very nice home, a maid, a nanny coming in every day, basically allowing you to focus on what you need to be
Yeah.
doing, right? So maybe your wife can do a lot of the cooking and cleaning around the house, but if you have somebody doing that for her, you guys can really start focusing in on other type of
Right,
activities,
right.
right? And so that's what I've told my girlfriend. I'm like, look, I don't want to have to do any of the cooking and cleaning. I don't want to have to do any of the responsibilities of feeding or cleaning up the cat, for example. I just don't want to have to do that. That's why I've paid the maid to come in, so I can stay super focused on income generating
Yeah.
opportunities. Really, that's what I'm really focused on now, and really focusing on learning because it's honestly this is like the Yukon Gold
Yeah.
Rush, the California
Yeah.
Gold Rush, when people were like literally just like go out west, stake your claim, find your fortune. That's really where we're at right now, and so many people don't realize that. That's really where we're at. We're literally in this. It's open for everybody who wants to get
Yeah.
after it. You just have to find a way to make it happen.
I want to touch base on something that you just said. You said learning. Let's go on a quick back and forth. What are you learning? Where are you learning it at? What do you plan to get out of it? Because I think that we're both on the same wavelength on that one.
Well, I kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier, but
Okay.
Coursera, they offer a $60 a month program that I recently found out at Nas Company. We have this brain fund that when I was onboarded, I was under the impression that it was more for mental health. So whether it was therapy or other kind of more mental health oriented activities, I didn't realize that we could actually use that to pay for like a course. So Coursera has a wide array of courses. So I've only completed one course over the past couple of months because I just haven't had a whole lot of time or I haven't prioritized that, I should say. But now that I have that reimbursement in place, I'm like, no, I really need to do that. That's one. So I've taken one AI agentic course. I invested in Matt LeCave's sell by chat through his LinkedIn program, basically, where it was a $3,000 course. I paid for it. I've learned a lot. And that was amazing. And his whole notion is like, look, you just need to get into conversation with people at the end of the day. And I've realized that as of late. I mean, he even says you really shouldn't be creating content if you're not getting into conversations. But once you're getting into conversations, then you can create some content. It's like he's got a triangle that he explains how that works. So those are some of the two, and also along with this brain fund, I asked, since Nas Company is becoming an AI-based company, I was like, hey, is there any way that we can participate as employees in the Nas AI school? And so I recently got accepted into that, or was basically allowed into that course. And so I just attended my very first course last week, and so I'll be attending that on a
Is
weekly
it like
basis.
the challenges that we were taking before?
Very similar to the
Okay.
challenges.
All
Very
right.
similar format. Very similar dynamic. More participants per session, and they're bringing in guest speakers or guest instructors, I
And are
should
the lessons
say, for
recorded?
each of the modules. Yes, they're
Okay.
all recorded, so you can view the prior sessions as well, even before you paid. So you basically get access to the prior sessions. They have office hours. Daniel Paul is one of the key instructors who gives office hours.
And
So those are the things that I'm kind of
and if
focused
you
in
pay
on
for
right
the
now.
premium Nas IO, you get the school for free, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, or I think or vice versa. I think if you pay for the AI school, you get the premium version of Nas
Okay.
IO. I forget which
All
way it
right. All right.
works.
Yeah. I'm gonna sign up for sure. I'm gonna sign up for sure.
Dude, it's $1 a day, $30 a month, and the tools and access that you get, it's gonna pay dividends down the road by just honestly meeting people, speaking about different opportunities, real world applications, case
How long are the
studies,
live
things of that
sessions?
nature. An hour. I think they were expanded from 45 minutes to an hour. The one I attended was
Okay.
an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're not on a set schedule. They might be on Mondays or Wednesdays or.
No, I think they are on a set
Okay.
schedule. If I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, but I just signed up last week, so I haven't really checked, but I can get
Well,
back
no,
to you on
you know
that.
what? I'm going to sign up. I always like being in those together because we would hop on afterwards and kind of banter a little bit,
Yeah,
and I think that that would be great to do.
and work on
Yeah, yeah,
things
yeah, yeah,
together.
yeah.
Just
I'm
kind
going
of
to
have
sign up
a
as soon as we're done
debrief.
with this. I'm going to
Yeah,
sign up for it. That way we can do that.
yeah, it's well
Yeah, and
worth
I
it,
told
bro. I
Mika
can't.
that I wanted her if we can do it together. I told her, hey, let's go ahead and do it. She has an awesome
Mhm.
podcast set up and everything, and I think that she would be perfect for Generación Digital since she's like mid 20s and is doing it. She's working everything
Yeah.
online. That's her entire.
Did she go to school? How old is she? How old is
Mika's
Mika? You know?
25. She has a computer science degree.
Oh, so she went to
Yeah,
college
yeah, yeah,
though.
yeah. And
But she's still part of that generation where, like, even if you did get a degree, not necessarily working a traditional
yeah,
job per se. She prefers being
yeah,
independent.
and like I said, 100% online. That's how she makes her living, right? Her costs of her expenses are low, so she is able to do that. But she's growing her portfolio. She's growing her skills. Since the last time that we
Hmm.
worked with her together, the three of us, she's gotten
Hmm.
much, much better. And I think that I want to focus on being of service to her because I think if I help her
Hmm.
develop, maybe she could become somebody that I work with long term, partner up, or use her as a resource because she's going to have a lot more credibility to the audience that I want to talk to in Generación Digital. Think about how many people are in Latin America that already have the skills because they grew up with a screen in front of them, but just don't know how to turn that skill into money. And they think that it's going to be super
Yeah.
difficult. In Colombia, in Brazil, in the Dominican Republic, in Mexico, you don't need to make an awful lot of American money in
Oh
order to
no,
survive
no.
well. In order to survive well.
Yeah, no. People, I think of all ages are looking for quality of life. At the end of the day, right? I think one of the key challenges of working for the salario mínimo here in Colombia is you're working 6 days a week, and that's
10
probably
hour
how you
days.
survive in the sense that long days, and you have another bonus for transportation. I forget what they call that word, but ultimately, you don't have a lot of free time to even spend your money, right? You don't have a whole lot of money to spend, but you basically come home every night, you cook your lunch for the next day, you probably eat something on the go or real quick at home, take the bus to and from work, working 6 days a week, and your off day, what are you doing? You're doing laundry and you're going to the grocery store. Like that's not really an existence. And so, when people can find a way to make an income of even $500 a month online, that's like a massive
I think that's
lifestyle
more than minimum
change,
wage in
right? Doubling your
Colombia.
income. Yeah, $500 is more than minimum wage in Colombia. Minimum wage in Colombia is still probably right around $300. It
Yeah.
might be a little bit more depending on the exchange rate, but so call it 600. Call basically whatever double minimum wage is. All of a sudden, you are living a much higher quality of life because you're, first of all, working online, working at home, working for yourself, not in the rat race, not having to deal with the bus, not having to deal with the potential dangers of taking public transportation, walking down the street, etc. And you're just in a more comfortable
Yeah.
environment, right? Like that's massively uh, an upgrade in lifestyle.
Minimum wage in Mexico is $13.76 a day. $13.
Yeah, so times 30, what is that?
Yeah, $500. $500.
Yeah, so Colombia it's like 300, Mexico's 500. But that's probably not so much for Mexico City though. I mean, I
Right.
would imagine Mexico City you're going to get paid more,
Hmm.
but the point being is yeah, it's not much. It's definitely not
Yeah.
$1,000. I mean, $1,000 in Latin America, that's decent money. It's not great money, but I mean it's enough for you to have your own home, live with your family, put food on the table, have some quality of life,
Weekends at the
honestly.
beach, maybe some empanadas
Yeah.
from the el puesto down the street. But yeah, yeah, it's not
Yeah,
you're not
exactly.
scraping
Exactly.
by. You're
Well,
not being
social
broke. Yeah.
media today, people see how other people live, right? So if you can be very impoverished, you have your mobile phone and you see how wealthy people live. Not even like the uber wealthy, the famous people like Bad Bunnies, celebrities. I'm talking about just you see how other YouTube creators, TikTokers, etc., are making money. And they're just like, damn, why can't I be doing that? And the reality is
You
they
could.
could be, right? At the end of the
And
day. I think it's one of the key things is that people don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to sell. They have the knowledge. They just don't know how to create a larger audience to sell to.
And people have this notion in their mind that influencers make money, that you have to go viral to make money, that you have to
Mm.
be funny or pretty or heartfelt in order to make money online, in order to make a living online. And you don't need, especially now the way that the algorithms work, especially now that you have. Like Nas.io, right? You set everything up. There's an AI co-founder that helps you do everything, and then the platform itself has a AI feature that will do all your ads for you already. You don't need a single follower in
Mhm.
order to get all this set up and put it out there. Put it out there.
I saw a TikTok video yesterday. The guy was talking. I don't know if he was serious or not. He sounded very serious, but he basically said he now has an AI boss that he literally reports to an AI system, right? Where that AI gives him instructions of day-to-day
Yeah.
tasks, etc. So I'll have to go back and I'll send you the
Wow.
video if I can find it.
Yeah.
But the notion is pretty ridiculous. It's pretty crazy,
Well,
right?
Gary
He
B.
said he likes it because
Gary
what's that?
Vee's been talking about that in our children's or grandchildren's generation. He feels there's people that are going to be married to an AI type of bot or system or something like that.
Well, did you ever see that movie Her?
Yeah, yeah, I did. That's kind of
Yeah, I mean,
freaky.
it's like
Yeah.
that. It's like
Well, how
that. I mean,
crazy
you
is
can
that?
see it because honestly, I think one of the things we're seeing here in Colombia is that there's like a lot of sex tourism taking place because a lot of these people in the U.S., a lot of men, uh, being unsuccessful romantically, they realize like, holy shit, I've got extra cash. Instead of having to fly to Thailand, I can fly down to Colombia and pay pennies on the dollar for what I want, right? And so people that don't do that aren't into that like sick mentality or just that lifestyle. Just having this camaraderie with somebody, right? Even when you chat with ChatGPT, I always kind of like to joke with ChatGPT when I'm doing these inbound emails. I'm like, all right, make sure you humor me with your response and then give me a draft email that's appropriate, right? Because I field all kind of emails, people asking for money, a lot of sob stories, a lot of scams, a lot of just outlandish
Yeah.
ideas, a lot of half-baked ideas, a lot of people looking for mentorship, guidance. I'm actually the full gamut. And so to stay sane, I like to joke with ChatGPT. My whole point in the story though is saying that you have like this kindredship with
I do.
ChatGPT,
Yeah.
right? You feel like it knows you. You feel like you can speak to it, and you get that reaction that you're looking for, right? When you speak to somebody, and it's super
The
interesting
the
phenomenon.
the talk feature, right? I turn it on. I have my morning meeting with ChatGPT, right? Hey, what do I need to do? What are the blind spots? Did I forget anything? Do you remember this conversation that we had about 3 months ago? Right? And it is just all right there. It is just all right there. It's still,
Well, I pay for the plus
yeah, yeah,
plan
I do too.
or the pro. Which one's plus? Which one's pro? The $20 a
That's what I
month
pay.
plan.
That's what I pay. Yeah.
But I'm considering eventually at some point upgrading to the more expensive one because I think you can actually speak to it longer. There's some benefits. And this guy, Matt LeCave, he pays for a system through Obsidian where he's got this whole notion of a second brain. where he's constantly speaking to the chat GPT on a daily basis. All the knowledge gets stored there, and he's running like these different processes to like synthesize his entire knowledge base. It's pretty remarkable what you can do with
Yeah,
AI, to be
yeah, yeah.
honest.
I've been. How much is the? How much is the?
I think it's $200
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for
I
the
wanted to
other
say
plan.
$200, and some of these tools. I was another thing that I was going to say is some of these tools are not inexpensive, but VO3, right? VO3. I got it standalone. I didn't pay for the Google upgrade that encompasses all of their
Mhm.
features. But it was $50 for 7,000 credits, and I've been burning through credits quick. I think that I'm probably at $200 worth of credits right now, but with $50 worth of credits, you can make really, really, really good videos. You could probably get 6, 7, 8 videos out. You can do them at 8 seconds at a time, and I just piece together 5 different or 4 different sections of 8-second videos. Yeah, clips,
Clips.
and they're
Yeah.
great, right? But like Suno, I don't know, it's like 10, $20, and you can do 500 songs in a month, and the song
Yeah.
quality, it is just insane.
Yeah, I found
Wow.
a song recently for a story I did. 'Cause I had made some arepas. No, I actually had my maid
Ah,
make
I
me some
saw
arepa
that.
de
I saw
huevo.
that. I got hungry. I got hungry.
Yeah, well then I listened to the song and I was like, well, this is a really cool song. I was like, who is the band? Because it was called the Virtual Music
Yeah.
Band, I think it was called. So I looked it up on ChatGPT, on Perplexity. They couldn't find it. And then I think actually in Spotify you can view the artist
Yeah.
info. Then it said it was like fully AI,
Yeah.
fully AI band. And so yeah, it's remarkable what you can
Yeah.
do, honestly. But I think one of the key things I do want to leave to end the conversation on is I think the connection with humans, it's paramount, right? I mean, you can do the agentic stuff, you can have AI take a lot of the stuff off of your plate. When you look at the AI content, it's interesting, but I think they'll still have an interest in seeing human-based content, and we'll see at what point
At
that's going
least
to
for now, I think
transition.
it's going to
You know,
transition later on.
for
Yeah.
now, it is going to definitely transition at some point. And in fact, if you look at the videos that Nas is doing on a daily basis, they look very real, but at the end of the day, it's still a human told story. And I think one of the reasons why some of these bands may never make it big, though, is because you didn't really see the band's evolution, right? Like the starting off very, very raw, and they have like a mega hit, and they evolve as artists, etc. You follow them. People talk about this notion of following your favorite AI influencer. I'm still struggling
Yeah.
with that, trying to get my head around that. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was I was recently asked to find some B2B creators in the AI space. And I was using different tools online, using Perplexity to look for different creators, looking on LinkedIn myself manually. But then when I found and started talking to people, that's when things really started to happen. I was talking to people's agents, explaining what I needed. I attended the Beehive event. I actually recruited one of those speakers to be a potential
Yeah.
creator for this campaign. So the notion here is, sometimes the best tool isn't really a piece of technology. It's not a
Yeah.
software. It's going back to our roots as humans and speaking to people, right? It's like this notion of when you speak to people that know you, they're going to help you out,
Right.
right? As opposed to it's like applying for a job. When you apply for a job on LinkedIn, you're just a
Yeah.
number, right? You're just a digital packet sending your resume over, hoping you're going to get a call. But when you're actually speaking to the recruiter personally, whether it's online or in person, like, oh, okay, this is Danny. This is his profile. I see who he is, etc. So I think that's really what I'm really focused in on now. And again, we've been talking about building communities, talking about selling to people. We're not selling to
Yeah.
AI, right? I mean, AI, if anything, it's a tool to sell to humans. But at the end of the day, I think this is about human psychology and understanding how to solve human problems is, I think, for me, the key lesson out of
Right,
all
and
of
I think
this.
you hit it right on the nose, man. Look, look at what we're doing right now, and it all started from a conversation. I sent you over a text. Hi, you're from Colombia. Oh wow, I know people from there, and and
Yeah,
and
I
and
remember
and,
that.
and I was like, man, this dude is doing awesome things, way more advanced than me, And you're like, give me a call. and we talked for like 15, 20
Yeah.
minutes, and then we've been having a friendship that has grown and that has been beneficial for both of us. We've been able to do some things
Yeah.
together. We've been able to get this podcast together, content together, and I think that you're not going to find that with
Yeah, we
ChatGPT.
still haven't met
Right,
personally in
right,
person,
right,
right? In
right.
real
And
life.
honestly, like I talk to you more than I talk to some of my friends that are here in town. And it's just
Yeah.
incredible.
No, it's great. It's great to really connect on that level because in this modern day and age, we're so connected, right? But in many ways, we're like disconnected. The reason we scroll so much is we're seeking that connection when it's nice. I mean, I've always been a person that has had fewer friends, but like deeper
Hmm.
connections, as opposed to a lot of people that have superficial level connections, but love speaking to a lot
Right,
of people on a daily
right.
basis. That's just never
Yeah,
been my thing.
yeah. Just insane where the world is going. And I think that as long as you're doing just a little something, you're not going to let get left behind, because the next thing's going to come out and the next thing's going to come out. And the important skill, I think, aside from learning VO3 or Suno or Hydra or whatever it might be, the most important skill is learning. It's adapting. It's
Yes.
it's
Yeah, and it's
pivoting.
more important than ever, right? In the past, you go to school and you get a job and you were good to go. Now it's like, oh yeah, I'm working in AI, but yeah, even if you're working in AI, you still have to
Yeah,
keep up. You still have to stay
yeah,
informed. And how are you
right.
doing that? You've got to read, you've got to speak to people, you've got to learn, you've got to study, you've got to apply yourself. And the tools are out there. It makes it so much easier, but there is a learning
Right.
curve, right? ChatGPT is like the gateway to AI, but then you start talking about agents and you start talking about all these other things. It gets pretty complicated pretty quick.
And I think that that is the career, right? You have doctors, you have accountants, you have engineers that have a very specific job title and job function. I think that
Mhm.
when you're talking about people that are working online and digitally, like me and you, like what we actually do is pivot and learn constantly. That is our
Yeah,
career.
that's fundamental.
Pivot
That's
and learn
fundamental.
and go to
And
the next thing.
well, that's what I love about my day job with Nas Company and working on the Nas Daily side of the house is that every single day I'm learning, I'm growing. And if anything, I would say I have a regret of not leaving the comfort of the golden handcuffs to pursue things that were more interesting to me. Right. So I feel like I'm getting a second lease on life, mid-age, going into what Gary Vee says, oh, you're still a baby, right? You can still be making changes until you're 90 years old. And I do believe in that. I do think that there's something to be said about never giving up. And, it's not about ageism. I think it's just about finding your
Yeah.
community, right? And that's why you see people on social media that are 50, 60, 70 years old slaying it because they're sharing their knowledge with their audience, with their user base, right? That's what this is about.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I'm excited about where
Cool,
we're
man.
going. I'm excited. Hey, I'm excited about being back in front of the camera with you, man. I think that
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's definitely we should definitely strive for at least once a month to publish
yeah,
a
yeah,
full
yeah.
podcast
Well,
episode. We can pull out some hot takes,
yeah, yeah,
etc.
yeah, yeah.
So let me
If I
know.
mean, we were doing it once a week. I know that you get busy. I get busy too. But I mean, let's do it on a regular basis. I think that not only are we going to
Yeah,
get a lot of it.
100%.
Yeah,
Like, let's definitely commit to doing it once a month,
yeah, yeah,
getting it published because there's an editing process. I'm gonna get some hot takes out of this, and let's wrap this up for
yeah,
today,
yeah.
Danny. So, what do you say to the listeners that have made it this far into the podcast? What's your message to them, and what can they look forward to in a future episode?
I think that you need to start learning something digitally. I think AI is a great way to start. ChatGPT has a ton of different functions, right? But I think that if you get into Suno, or I think that's my new thing right now, VO3, right?
Mhm.
Or anything that you could afford in order to get into past ChatGPT, I think that that would be really, really beneficial. And the other thing is that, like, stay tuned, because as we evolve, Antonio and I, we want to share our knowledge with you so that maybe you can take a couple of bits of information that we talk about, explore them for yourself, reach out to us if you want more information, or we're always available, and
Hmm.
start making that transition from insecurity, of not being valued, of maybe even miserable at the job that you're at, or maybe just wanting
Yeah.
to have more freedom from that 9 to 5 corporate type of lifestyle to something that allows you to spend more time with yourself, with your family, earn an income, be able to travel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I would say also this is not about starting from ground
Right.
zero, right? This is about taking your skills that you have, having these very valid and transferable skills, and applying them just in a different capacity, right? So getting away from getting a biweekly paycheck, once a month paycheck to, receiving multiple payments at various points throughout the week or throughout the month with your clients, and you're able to contribute your knowledge in a different capacity, whereas opposed to it's very routine in a 9 to 5, much more dynamic. High months, low months, but very rewarding, I would
Very
say,
rewarding.
is the
Very
benefit
rewarding.
of being
Yeah.
independent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, super happy to be doing this with you again. Long
Yeah.
hiatus, so stoked, bro.
Yeah, let's get back into the things,
Yeah.
Danny. So definitely let's wrap it up here, and then I think we'll be on to the next episode sooner
Yeah.
than
Let's
later.
do it. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. See you
Later.
later.